As a writer, I've always had a passion for brevity. And as a seeker of knowledge, I've always had an insatiable appetite for matters of the mind. And not too long ago, I set out on a course, a foolhardy mission to summarize all the world's knowledge in just 10 words. I realized this was a big job. My friends were telling me, John, you're nuts. You're never going to be able to summarize all philosophy and science, economics, psychology, everything in just 10 words. Come on. I said, no, this is my life's mission, for the moment at least. And so I set out reading everything I could and meditating on it. And after a year or two, I had everything boiled down to, I think it was 25 or 30 words. But I just couldn't get it down to 10 words. And then a year or two later, I got it down to 15 words. And I was getting close. I knew I was getting close. And then one morning, I went for a walk. And it was so strange. I was in the morning sunlight, and I could see my shadow. And I realized that this holy grail I had set out for myself was there, right in front of me. I could see what I wanted, and it was in the blur between the shadow and the sunlight. And suddenly I had an epiphany. 10 words, it came to me. 10 words summarizing all human knowledge. You want to know what they are? I know. But, you never know. And that's the title and the guiding principle, the guiding ethic behind what you are watching or listening to or reading right now. You never know. You never know what kind of situation you're going to end up in. I grew up on Long Island, just kind of following the things that you were supposed to do, studying and competing in sports and all that kind of stuff. And I did well. I was voted by my classmates as class president and most likely to succeed, accepted at Harvard University. And I did well there too. I was an all-American athlete. I was a member of 3 national championship squash teams. And there, again, my classmates voted me class president. Back there, they call it the first marshal. And And then I was accepted at Harvard Business School and recruited by the investment banks. But something happened. Instead of going to New York and Wall Street, I chose the road not taken. I went to work for a company in South Carolina called Sea Pines on the coast, and I took a small bungalow right on the ocean, just a few feet actually. I could hear the ocean's roar every night, and I just fell into such a deep sleep. It was wonderful. And when I would come home from work, I would sit on the rocks beside the ocean and I would put pen to paper. This is before computers, before electronic typewriters or anything. And I was expressing myself. It felt good. And so I followed that. And little by little, I started to step off the success track. I quit my job there, moved into a converted barn in Marblehead, Massachusetts, where I spent a year writing the novel that had started to take shape, sitting on the rocks there next to my bungalow in Florida. Writing a novel is much harder than people realize, and getting it published is even harder than that. And I ran out of money, and I went back, crawled on my knees, took a job at Chase, Wall Street, hated it. After 2 years, I went to work at Fortune magazine. There I learned how to write. And it was one step after another. Today, I'm 70 years old. And I'm homeless. So what keeps me going? There are 3 things that keep me going now. The first is a slender thread of humanity. In my life now, that slender thread has a name. Her name is Jessie. And Jessie, for all her wonderful qualities, has one quality that stands out. She's a good listener. I've always been a good listener. It's probably one of the most undervalued and underrated qualities in the world today. We all have this deep need to be heard, to be understood, to be listened to. That slender thread in my life right now is named Jessie, but it could just as well be named Carly, my sister, or Samantha, my niece, or Mac Norris, my friend from Garden City, or it could be that stranger that I met yesterday walking down that beach. As we walked down the beach, our eyes met, and he asked me how I was. And I looked at him and I said, I'm about an 8.7. How about you? And he looked at me and he kind of smiled. He got it. And he said, well, I'm about a 7.9 this morning. So we smiled and walked on. And a little while later, I'm walking back the beach, and I see him again. And we looked at each other, and I said, "How you doing now?" And he said, "I'm a 9.2. And we exchanged a high five, and he said, "There's something about the air out here." Yeah. There's something about the air out here, and there's something about a human connection. A human connection. One of the things I do to earn income, but more importantly, to establish that human connection, is I drive for Uber. And not too long ago, I gave a ride to a guy who said that he was a startup engineer. And I'm going to continue this in just a moment.